All right, we're live. How are we all doing this week? Let me know, as always, if the sound is okay for you guys. Let me know if you need more or less of anything. Right, so, yeah, how are we all? It's Wednesday again. That week went really fast, didn't it? That just seemed to kind of come from nowhere. It kind of felt like we were on the stream, and then, you know, we're straight back here again 1 week later. I'm so unprepared tonight. I haven't even put my watch on yet, so I'll do that while you guys are saying hello. So yeah, who have we got in tonight? Can't even get this thing on. And what is everyone up to? What's everyone been doing for the last week? It's been a pretty uneventful week from my side. Obviously, I've posted a couple of new videos, but nothing I've shot over the last few days because I've been away. So anyone who follows me on socials will know that I actually took a few days off, which is something I don't really do that often. But yeah, I took a few days off and I want to say decompressed, but I actually went to London, which is the most stressful place on earth. So I didn't do much resting. It was mostly, you know, dealing with London. Hey Hannah, how's it going? Good to see you here. Who else is in tonight? We got any of the other usual suspects in? So before I went to London, I actually stopped off for a day last Friday down in the south of England with Mike from CGS and a couple of other of my YouTube buddies, and we were there at the British Boutique Guitar Festival. So the event ran for 2 days this time. Because of my travel plans, I could only attend the first day, but yeah, it was cool though. I got down there, got to hang out with everyone and see everyone again. Hadn't seen Henning for a while, hadn't seen Adam or Mike for a while, and I met this new channel called Jake Leigh as well. He's pretty cool. Oh, actually, Jake has just popped up in the chat as well. Hey Jake, how's it going? Yeah, we had a great time, spent a day down there. Oh, and Mike Bradley was there too. So yeah, we spent a day down there filming a bunch of content. Yeah, really fun day. The second day apparently went well. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the second day, but it's always good fun down there. Dennis is here as well, coming in good. Hope all is well. I'm good, Dennis. How are you? Always good to see you here. Hannah, this time last week I was in London to see St. Vincent. Yes, I did see on your Instagram story. How was it? I've not really checked out a ton of her music. I actually wrote an article on how to play kind of in her guitar style last year for one of the guitar magazines, which was really interesting because it was pretty much the first time I'd really heard her play. So it's quite interesting to kind of see her take on the guitar because she's not a conventional guitar player as such. So I thought that was quite interesting. But yeah, I'm sure her show was pretty good though. She's a great player, very kind of innovative. I do need to check out more of her stuff, so any recommendations would be pretty good as well. Peter Grant's here as well. Hey Peter, how's it going? Always good to see you here. So, I've got a new guitar to talk about tonight, which is actually, I'm going to be doing a full-length video on it soon, but it's something that kind of came up as a bit of a last-minute acquisition, actually. I wasn't actually sort of planning to pick up a guitar, but I ended up spending a day before the British Boutique Guitar Festival. I actually left a day early, and I went down to visit my buddy Jason, who runs a company called Maybury Guitars, and he's down sort of on the way to where I was going anyway. He's just outside sort of southwest London, so I was kind of going down that way anyway. And Jason said, you know, come by, shoot some videos. So we spent a day there, and I ended up leaving one of his guitars, which I kind of had my eye on for a while, you know, at various trade shows and stuff. I kind of played this guitar a few times and thought, okay, I quite like this. But yeah, it's kind of found its way into my possession now, which is really cool. So again, anyone who follows me on social may have seen a couple of stories crop up with it over the weekend. It's not this. This is just what I'm currently holding. It's my early 80s Tokai. But we'll get on to the new guitar in a moment. Basement Guitar Superstars here as well. Hey Dan, how's it going? Good to see you. Dennis, looking forward to all that content from the third BBGF. Yes, I know I shot 5 videos. I'm pretty sure Jake and Mike Bradley, we were in the same studio. I think we got about 5 each. I guess Henning and Adam probably got about the same. And then the next day, I guess they probably did about 4 or 5 brands there. So there's probably going to be maybe 30 or so videos coming your way from everyone that was collectively there. So yeah, keep an eye out for that, because it was a really fun day that I was there. Some really cool brands, and the second day looks like it was just as fun. It was amazing. Admittedly, I don't know much of her stuff. I googled the recent set list and just listened to those songs on repeat ahead of the gig. The intro to her song Los Angeles is really simple but very catchy. I can't remember which songs I based the ideas off that I did for the lesson. I'll need to dig that link out, but I know I did the same thing. I kind of checked out what her popular songs were, and then tried to kind of extract what are the kind of key components of her playing style from that range of songs. I think I picked like 3 or 4 songs. Jake came over with 10 videos. I know I came over with 5, so yeah, double makes sense because you had the extra day, obviously. Very cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually just watching everyone else's videos as well, because there was so much cool gear there, and some of the stuff just sounded so good that it's just always interesting to see how every other player kind of perceives that gear as well. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I guess people will start uploading, the videos in probably the next week or so. As soon as my videos arrive from Mike, I will be posting, getting them out there straight away for you guys, because I didn't get the chance to bring my videos away because I had to go, because it was a flying visit. I was there for the day, and then I had to go straight away to head to London for the weekend. I didn't get the chance to transfer my videos from him, so he still has all my videos, which I should hopefully be getting in the next couple of days, and then I can start posting them. I think, who did we shoot videos with on the first day? I know I shot a video with Maybury Guitars, again, even though I was with him the day before, and there's a video I did with him at the last one as well, so we did a new video this time. I shot a video with Franklin Guitars. I've kind of known Chris online for a while, just through Instagram and YouTube. Chris Franklin, who builds these guitars. First time I've met him face to face, so that was quite cool. Those videos are going to come up pretty good, I think. And I can't remember who else was there. Jake in the chat might remember. Jake, if you remember who was there on the first day, let me know, because I can't remember for some reason. I wish we had cool stuff like that on 42 Gear Street here. There probably is some kind of YouTube events in the States, because I know you're based obviously in Iowa. A couple of the guys I know in California do a few things. Obviously that's not, when we think of the geography of the US, you're still quite far away from California, but I'm sure there's probably other YouTubers in your neck of the woods who probably do something, or if not, would maybe be willing to start something, because really that's how a lot of these things came about. Henning started 42 Gear Street because there was no event like that. Mike started the British Petite Guitar Festival because there was no event like that. So I think if you can find something that's quite cool and you could start an event around, people do it. I know plenty of people who have started their own pedal events, for instance, and anything can be successful. If you've got the right people on board and everyone's willing to put the time in, it can be a really good thing. Killick Acoustics, that was it. That was one I couldn't remember. But I remember his acoustics, I just couldn't remember the name. And Devil & Sons. So you guys have seen a video I did with Daniel from Devil & Sons last year on this super relic Strat as well. He had that with him again, and a couple of other new creations too. He does like guitar relics for the end of the world, I think it's a good way to look at it. But his stuff is just so fun. He's a guitar builder who kind of pushes the boundaries of what you can do with a relic. I'll actually show you some of his stuff actually, because it is really cool. I mean, that alone is worth its weight in gold. The fact he made a guitar for Ginger from the Wild Hearts, that's pretty cool. So that alone kind of really sets his brand apart. But yeah, he does some really cool stuff. So we did a video on which one was it? I don't actually think it's on his website. He's got this new guitar which is kind of like, how do we even describe it? It's kind of like if you put the Millennium Falcon and a bunch of other spaceships onto an SG. It's kind of the gist. This is one of the guitars he had, which I've already done a video on. These are really cool. We did a video on, I think it was this one, this white one here. That might be the one that he had at the show. It's just really cool. It's like, you know, if you had a Strat that was just absolutely destroyed and then some, this is kind of what you end up with. Surprisingly, even though they look quite wacky, they actually play really good. The only thing that takes a little bit of getting used to is because he's shifted the neck pocket obviously to here and the neck is tilted downwards. You're kind of playing the guitar like this if you sat down, but if you're stood up, you know, that's fine. It works. You can kind of hang it on a strap and it works fine. It's very cool, and he's such a nice guy too. He is a really nice guy. I've had loads of really good conversations with Daniel over the years that I've known him, and it's just, yeah, he's so easy to talk to. You can just kind of hang out and talk about anything really. He's just, yeah, very, very easy guy to get on with. Really easy to talk to. So one of the brands that was there, as I mentioned, is Maybury, and this is something that I've ended up acquiring. So this guitar, this is brand new to me. I've literally only had this since last Thursday. Now, I actually only really got to take it out the case today because I didn't actually get home from my trip until last night. So this was in a guitar case. I literally took it out the case this morning, put some of my favourite strings on it, gave it the once over, and here it is. I literally only plugged it in to see if it works properly as well. So a lot of what you're going to be hearing is going to be hearing this in my environment for the first time as well. I've played this guitar a few times at shows, and you know, we did a video at British Boutique Guitar Festival, but yeah, you're going to be hearing this pretty much for the first time with me tonight. This is what he calls a fishhook S-type. So this is kind of a style that Jason has kind of developed as, I think it's kind of one of his signature things. He uses this look a lot, which is this fishhook kind of design. So you've got the lower cutaway with the hook. He does this on a lot of his T-style guitars, but then obviously he's got it on the upper horn here because this is a Strat type. So what really caught my eye with this, there's a couple of different things, but the main thing was the colour. Now, you can obviously see a couple of different colours to the body of this. This is done with a technique that he calls Shoshugiban, which is a technique which comes from Japanese carpentry, which is to do with, it's basically to do with like drying out wood and making wood harder and more kind of robust. So it basically involves burning the wood and then scraping it back with a wire brush. But what he's done is he's incorporated stain into that as well. So you've got these black areas which are charred wood, but then he's kind of stained around those areas. So each guitar he does like this comes out slightly different as well. This is a finish that he offers on a lot of his range. It's really cool, really unique, and it ages differently as well. So obviously as you play the guitar, the finish kind of rubs off in different ways, and yeah, each one kind of becomes quite unique, which is really nice. Dan likes the headstock as well. His headstocks are really cool. On some of his tellies, he actually has the reverse headstock as well, which is pretty fun. A lot of love for the guitar. Got to run, but that guitar's gorgeous. That's beautiful. They're so good at what they do. What a killer guitar. Yeah, it's really good. I really like what Jason is doing. And yes, Darren, that fretboard. So let me get that up on the camera and get the autofocus to pick that up for you, because that really is something. That's one of the coolest fretboards I think I've seen in a long time. And the marker dots are, I think he said they're aluminium circles, which is really cool. So a couple of questions on the wood they're coming in as well. What's the wood? I haven't actually got to that yet, John, anyway, so you did join at just the right time there. It's reminding me of those car oil puddles you see on the road. Yeah, I kind of get that. It's got that sort of watery kind of look about it. So let me pull it up. So I've actually got the reverb listing here. So this is the listing from right before the guitar found its way to me. So this is obviously his photos, but this is the same guitar. So what we've got here, I should also say this is something that he makes a lot with different reclaimed woods as well. Jason is really big on sustainability, so he started developing a bunch of really cool guitars with woods that are kind of just, he gets them from different places. He calls them upscalers. So you're sort of getting wood that is not really bought as guitar wood, but he's repurposing it for that. So this is a Norwegian spruce body, which has been subjected to the Shoshugi ban weathering method. So that's the thing I told you about there with the, you kind of burn it with a blowtorch, rub it back with a wire brush, and then he's kind of staining on top as he's doing that. It's got this blue-green stain. It's topped with a transparent pickguard with CTS, pots, orange drop capacitors, and the pickups are Vanson Alnico 459s. I don't really know much about Vanson pickups, so we'll look them up. They sound pretty good to my ears, but I have no idea where they sit in the pricing scale. The body is made, the neck is made from sapele with a tung oil finish, 25.5-inch scale, and a spalted lacewood fretboard with medium jumbo frets, aluminium and resin fret markers, and all the hardware is Fender USA standard. He ships all his guitars with Headstock cases as well. So yeah, that fretboard is, what did I just say that was? Spalted lacewood. So the body on this thing, with this being an upscaler, this is Norwegian spruce. It's incredibly light. It weighs, I don't actually know what the actual weight is, but it's light. It's very, very light, but it's really resonant. This wood, I believe he told me, was from a flooring company. So under your house floorboards, there's kind of a big wooden truss that basically supports the weight of the ceiling. This used to basically hold up someone's roof, and now it's a guitar, which is really cool. And obviously, like you said, he's got the string through body. He's got that spalted lace plate around there as well, which is really cool, which holds in the string ferrules. All his neck plates are carved in as well. So yeah, it's a Fender bridge. The tuners are Fender tuners as well, just your standard USA tuners, nothing too exotic, just good, reliable Fender tuners. Yeah, like I said, CTS parts, orange drop capacitors. I don't know much about the pickups. Vanson pickups are kind of new to me, so let's see what they're all about. I think they're kind of slightly more on the affordable edge of things. So let's see. So we've got single coils. Alnico 4, he said these were. So, I mean, I think we can see here that all their pickups are about £15 each. So they're actually quite affordable pickups. They sound pretty good. Whether or not I'm going to keep them in or change them is, you know, that's an open topic. I swap pickups in guitars all the time, so I may end up swapping these out for something, but for now they sound pretty good. The guitar plays really nice as well. It's lightweight, which is going to be really fun for gigging with, I think. I got my Harley Benton Fusion 2 years ago, and still in my, I can't read today. I got my Harley Benton Fusion 2 years ago. I first read that as my Harley Benton Fusion 2, and I think that's where my brain switched off. So, in my opinion, still the best feeling and the most best feeling and playing axe. How would you compare the feel of this beauty? That's a really good question. Obviously, very, very different in terms of construction, in that obviously the Fusions are mass-produced, and this is obviously handmade as a one-off piece. Really, what this next comment is not taking away from this guitar and the quality and build of this guitar, but it's complementing the quality of the Harley Benton, because the Harley Benton is great, and the Harley Benton could easily keep up with guitars in this price point, I think. Now, obviously, there's always going to be compromises because it's a mass-produced guitar that costs like £300 and something. The compromises are The electronics are probably not, well, they're definitely not CTS bots. They're decent, but they're not as good as CTS. The pickups are kind of Thoman's own brand. I think they're using the Tesla or the I can't remember the other one they use all the time. The ones that are basically the same as Wilkinson tuner, Wilkinson pickups, but aren't Wilkinson pickups. So that's basically what's in the Fusion, because I've got a Fusion 3 over there, which is a great guitar. I've gigged with it a lot as well. I love it. It plays good. It sounds good. What Harley Benton are doing that's really cool is they are kind of dabbling in some more interesting woods. Like the Fusion stuff now has roasted maple necks. It's got stainless steel frets, which for that price range is fantastic. Hey Dean, nice guitar. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Nice lace wood. Yeah, it looks more Fender style. Yeah, that's kind of what he was going for. It's kind of like Strat-ish, but obviously in his own kind of way. So, I haven't really plugged this thing in properly yet, other than to obviously make sure it was all working. So, what you guys are going to hear now is pretty much the first time I'm going to hear this properly as well. So I'm going through Black Star St. James 6L6, 2 notes Torpedo Captor X. The drives I've got plugged in tonight. So if you hear Overdrive, it's going to be the Analog Man King of Tone or the MXR Timmy. Obviously we're starting clean. So that's just the neck pickup. It's quite snappy sounding, quite percussive. Position 4. If you hear any dead notes, it's not the guitar, it's me, because I'm not used to the radius on this yet. It's much flatter than I normally play, so it's taking me I'm a bit clumsy with this thing so far. So I've never played a spruce guitar before, and it's a really interesting sound. I mean, I know we're open in the tone wood debate. I don't know if I've heard a guitar that quite sounds like that. It kind of has like a nice resonant low end, and there's a, like as John has just pointed out, they're bright and snappy. But there's kind of a scoop to those mids that I've not heard in just a Strat out the box before. Nice. Middle pickup. Takes me so long to get used to flat radiuses. Position 2. That's nice and chimey. That's very kind of Stevie Ray. And bridge pickup. I mean, that's a single called Bridge right there. pickup sound that I don't really use that much anyway, so who knows where that one's going to go. What I really like about the wiring of this as well is he's actually wired this tone pot for just the bridge pickup. So if you do play with the bridge single, you can kind of tame it down a bit, or even all the way down. But yeah, that's quite a useful thing. You can kind of tame that bridge pickup, and then the middle tone pot controls the neck and middle position. Should also mention it's a 5-way switch. It's a very typical Strat style configuration. Let's go King of Tone on bridge pickup. Okay, so bit of overdrive now. That thing gets a bit more life in it. That bridge pickup seems to like a bit of crunch. It actually sounds a bit fatter with a bit of crunch in there rather than completely clean. Very usable tone actually, if you kind of dial it back a bit. Yeah, that's very nice. So I'm liking the crunch on the bridge. Position 2. Middle. I don't really use the middle pickup on a Strat that much. Position 4. This is pretty much where I live on a Strat all the time. Nice, I'm into that. And neck pickup. That is very not that Stratty actually to my ears. That's kind of like a fat single coil Strat sound in the neck. Very cool, very, very usable. So yeah, I mean, those tones there are literally some of the first times I'm hearing this properly as well. And I'm hearing it through in-ears, so I'm not really even getting the full picture. But yeah, I'm loving that. Like I said, I've played this a few times before, but it's always been a passing in, like, you know, in guitar shows. And when you visit a guitar show, if you've ever been to one, they're noisy. There's a lot of people playing different guitars at the same time, so you can't really hear the intricacies of what you're actually trying to listen to. And the other time I've played this a lot is at things like British Boutique Guitar Festival, which again, sometimes it's get in, shoot your video and get out. So actually getting to sit down and get to know this thing is really fun. So yeah, I'm really impressed with what I'm hearing so far, but yeah, I'm looking forward to coaxing all kinds of tones out of this thing. Jason's guitars just rung out forever. Yeah, he does some really cool stuff. And what I like about what Jason does is the fact that his guitars are so light, but he kind of focuses on wood combinations and guitar combinations that just ring, like you said. Even though this is very light, it's very resonant. Like, that's just through my voice mic. You can really you can feel the wood resonating as well, which is nice. I think that's always, I don't know why I rolled the volume down there, but yeah, you can really feel the wood kind of resonating. His wood choice is fantastic. We all need more exotic woods in our life. We do, and what's really cool about what Jason does as well is he doesn't just use exotic woods. Sometimes he uses just wood that is just crazy. Like, he has this entire line of guitars that he calls upscalers. There's one actually that I want to show you. This is one that I played the other day with him. I think it's probably on his website, and I hope it's on his website anyway, because it was really cool. Oh, it's not. Okay, so I can't show you this guitar because it's not on his website, but he has this one guitar which is kind of like an ES339 style, but it's made from essentially old scaffolding board, which is crazy. He got his hands on some old scaffolding boards and basically turned it into a guitar. I'm trying to see if it's for sale anywhere, but it's not. Here is a little bit of an insight into some of his other stuff, though. So he does like a lot of cool woods. This zebra wood telly is fantastic. I've played this a couple of times. It is so heavy, but it really, really rings. That zebra wood is really cool. It's like really robust. I think you could take that thing out and throw it around the stage and it would never break. This is a really cool guitar. He does all these finishes by hand. His finishing is quite unique. He's got his own kind of color palette that he works with. This is the one I was telling you about, actually, that has the reverse headstock. I don't think it's there we go. So it's the same headstock shape as this guitar, but obviously backwards. There's that little fishhook I was telling you about as well. So on his T-style guitars, he only has the fishhook on the bottom, and then obviously just the regular T-style on the top. So he does, his three main types of guitars are the fishhook telly, which is what you just saw then, but obviously he can do that in a range of different looks for you. All of his guitars are custom as well. So if you check out his website and there's anything you like, he uses those shapes as kind of templates, but then you can build up on top of that whatever you want. This is kind of cool. This is called the Chola. This is his offset type. That one has appeared in a video with me twice before. That's a really fun one. It's got an elm chambered body and a pearl poplar top, which is really cool. And what else we got? The Saguaro, which is his, this is his 335 style, or 339 I should say. This one has appeared in a video on the channel. This is a really cool guitar. That's, I think, one of my favorites that I've played of his, other than the one I'm currently holding, obviously. And then he does different variations on that as well. That's really cool as well. I played that the other day at his place, and that's a really fun guitar. And then he has these upscalers, which is kind of where this thing comes from, but this isn't as upscaled as some of these other ones. So a lot of them are reclaimed woods. He gets them from, you know, like I said, different kind of old housing projects and whatnot. Like, this is a really cool thing that he does where he staples the wood. It's doweled inside, so it's really rock solid, but then he'll use the stapling to kind of really give it a cool industrial kind of look. And again, this has the same weathering method as the guitar that I'm holding, the Shoshugi Ban. It's pretty similar, actually. This is kind of a fishhook T style. It's got a lot of cracks in the body where it's kind of been put back together from different bits of reclaimed wood. That doesn't really affect the structural integrity of the guitar. He's put them back together so well that it's pretty much like a new body. But then you've got these really cool staples on top to give it that really fun industrial look. So yeah, I'm a really big fan of the stuff that he's putting out. He's got, what's he got currently for sale? So that's what you can currently get your hands on. He's got 6 different guitars. I think, well, the same one's on his Reverb store. So yeah, if you go over to mayburyguitars.co.uk, you can check all these things out. This one down here as well, the Cherry and Elm Les Paul, I can vouch for that as well because I played that one too, and that is a great guitar. So yeah, really cool stuff. Go give him some love. There's on my last video with him and subsequently more videos I do, there'll be some, you know, different links to his socials and his website and stuff, so go check those out as well. His Instagram page is amazing. He's working on some really cool Japanese themed guitars at the moment, so if you like Japanese art, go check out those. Adam, sounds great. Nice guitar you've got there. Thank you very much, Adam. Hope you're doing good. Good to see you here. That's a blues guitar all the way, but for me, I'm all about the blues and rock anyway. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my thing as well, as most people that watch any of the videos know. I'm predominantly sat in that blues park anyway, with a bit of the classic rock for good measure. But yeah, I just like guitars I can play pentatonic on. I'm not really a shredder guy, so anything that kind of has that vibe is perfect for me. Alexis Guitars looks great. I've been following Maybury from some time on Insta. Yeah, his stuff is really cool. He's just a nice guy as well. That's the other side of it. Like, a lot of the small builders in the UK are just really nice people. And I think that makes them even more of a pleasure to work with, because there's just a really cool community of builders out there that are just doing some incredible stuff. And I think what's really interesting about a lot of this, and I've talked at length with some of these guys about it, is the idea of having a custom guitar. For a lot of players, all of us here have probably thought at some point, you know, what's it like to have a custom built guitar? It doesn't cost as much as you think anymore, because there's a lot of these guys like Jason from Maybury. They're building guitars that are custom built guitars. So you can order one of these to your own spec, and it would probably still come in cheaper than a Fender USA custom, or, you know, or a Fender USA stock model or a custom shop or whatever. And you're literally having the guitar built for you. I mean, that's pretty cool thing. So I think if you're going to be spending big money on a guitar these days, custom guitars are not off the menu now. I think it's a really good time for players to actually speak to builders and actually spec up, you know, guitar builds. I've got something really, really cool coming out soon with Lewis from LT Custom Guitars as well. Something is arriving tomorrow, which is the start of a very cool collaboration there as well. Again, same vibe, custom guitars that aren't going to cost you the same price as a car, which is always fun. Perfecto says fish and fries hook. Yeah, this is perfect for catching fish and chips with. Not fries though. You won't get many fries on this thing. Philip Michael looks great. Congrats. Thank you very much, Philip. Hope you're doing good. Good to see you here. Do play Liquid Experiment Universal Mind. I don't know what that is. Is that a song? I'm not familiar with that song, so unfortunately it's probably not something I know. Is it in A minor, and does it use the pentatonic scale? Because if it does, I can probably wing it, but otherwise I probably don't know that one, sorry. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a full video on this thing very soon as well. Now that you've seen it, I'm actually going to be shooting a proper run through of this thing, talking about all the specs. Jason's sending me a spec sheet through soon with every kind of detail. I'm just reeling off what I can remember here. But yeah, Norwegian spruce, Sapele neck, spalted lacewood fretboard, Fender hardware, Vance and pickups, all the good stuff. Really fun sounding guitar. It seems to handle different types of gain quite well too. So if you put the MXR Timmy on, for instance, it's slightly cleaner sounding, but it's still got that nice bite. Also stacks quite well. It's going to be a bit noisy because it's single coils, but if I stack the King of Tone into the Timmy, just thought I was starting to get used to the radius on this, and I missed the note. I'm so used to big kind of rounded neck radiuses. I don't know what the exact radius of this is, but it kind of feels like a 12-14 region. Really nice to play though. It's like a very modern contemporary Strat. pickups clean up well too. So yeah, really cool. I'm really looking forward to digging into this thing and seeing where it takes me tonally. What do you guys think? Anything you want to hear from this thing? Any kind of tones you want to see if it can do? It works nice on like a boosted clean as well. So if you kind of just give it a bit of a kick. I'm a little bit torn on the pickups. I don't know. They sound good, but I'm always toying with pickups. So pickups are a big thing for me. I'm kind of really getting into the sound of certain pickups, and maybe I want something a little less hot, but they do sound really good. I think there's, again, it's all a big experimentation though. Ah, Jason's here in the chat as well. It's a 10-inch radius. Good to see you here, Jason. We were talking about the spec. I don't know how long you've been here, but I think I pretty much covered all the spec right so far. But yeah, great sounds out of this thing. I'm only really hearing it properly for the first time now, because obviously after picking it up from you last week, we shot the video at the British Boutique Guitar Festival, but it was kind of straight, you know, in the room, shoot the video, get out. And then the guitar came with me when I went to London, but lived in a case for 4 days. Got home last night, and I'm literally only taking it out today. I've kind of put a set of my favourite gauge strings on there, and yeah, just kind of dialing it in now to what I want. I like that neck pickup. It's really... It's a really snappy neck pickup, that is. I'm into that, especially on a boosted clean. Yeah, that neck pickup's really nice though. Cosmic, you got a really pretty fingerboard there. Yes, it's... let's get the autofocus on the camera going. It is spalted lacewood. It's a really, really nice fingerboard actually. I've not seen a spalted lacewood fingerboard on a guitar before. This is one of the things that Jason does really well at Maybury Guitars. He just builds with really interesting, really nice looking woods. It's got a sapele neck. Again, I've not had a guitar with a sapele neck before, so that's new to me. But that offsets the lacewood really nicely. It's a really, really nice pairing. Even though what I found really kind of fascinating about this visually as well is because of the Shushugi band weathering on the body, it's quite a busy look. There's a lot going on. And that fretboard is quite busy as well because there's a lot of different grain patterns in there. But somehow, they just seem to sit together. And when you look at it as a whole guitar, it doesn't look that busy. It's just when you kind of dig into individual elements, you see, you know, areas of interest, which is really fun. Hotball Studios is here as well. Hey Adam, how's it going? Good to see you. Did you shoot with this guitar at all on Friday? I'd be interested to hear what you think of it. I know you told me that you thought the fretboard was leopard print, which again, I love the 80s. So why would I not want a guitar with an 80s fretboard? I think that's what I need to do on my 80s Kramers. I think I need to see if I can find a luthier to put a leopard print fretboard on one of those for me, just to make them, you know, mega 80s. I'm looking forward to actually gig testing this thing as well. I've got a couple of gigs this weekend, so I think this might be coming out with me. And the fact, I mentioned it already, but the fact it's got a tone pot for the bridge pickup is such a useful thing, and I really don't know why more builders don't do that, because who actually likes the sound of a bridge single coil? Roll that back a bit. Just takes that kind of ice picky stuff away from it. Can't remember playing it on camera. Think I did. There were so many guitars there though. It was really hard to fit them all on camera, wasn't it? I know that obviously Jason from Maybury brought 5 guitars with him. And I think a couple of the other builders had like 3 or 4 with them. So yeah, it's quite hard to kind of get through everything. Spandex wrap finish. Now we're talking. Now we're getting mega 80s. I don't have a spandex guitar yet. I think maybe that's maybe that needs to change. I think that would be quite funny though. Spandex wrap finish with a leopard print fretboard. There could be a market for that. I think the 80s is slowly starting to come back. So I think you might be onto something there, Cosmic. I think we might be seeing that kind of thing in shops very soon. I know a lot of the brands have actually started leaning towards the super Strat thing again. Obviously, you've got companies like Jackson who've always done super Strats, but I'm kind of seeing a lot of guys now, like Schecter, for instance, who have been really leaning into these 80s vibe super Strats. They've got a series called the Sun Valley Super Shredders, which are like, I think they're like £1,000-ish. Some of them are made from quite exotic woods, but they're very much 80s style Strats. And they've also got this other series called the Nuys Series that I did some videos on last year. And again, those are the same thing. They're basically designed after the guitars that Schecter did when they were sort of a parts and repair shop in the 80s. So it's sort of really basic, Strat body, Strat neck, humbucker single, vintage style trem, but it's like, it's very fun, very 80s kind of vibed. So I think we're going to be seeing some spandex guitars very soon, I think. I think the dive bomb is coming back in fashion. I've never had a hardtail Strat either. That's interesting. That's a new experience for me as well. I've always bolted bridges down on Strats, but I've never actually had one with a hardtail. It's going to be quite interesting to see how that kind of changes the sound of it. So, Maybury guitars aside, anyone else got any other cool gear news this week? What's everyone else's gear wish list at the moment? I think we're going to have a good year this year for cool new stuff coming out as well, because last week obviously we were talking about the new affordable MXR Duke of Tone. That's going to be a really big launch. I'm looking forward to seeing that when that hits the shops. What else? What's everyone else looking forward to? We haven't had a new gear chat for a while, so anyone got anything cool they've got their eye on? I'm always interested to find out what cool new stuff I might have missed out on. I have a new pedal arriving this week from a company called Dr. Scientist that's going to be quite cool. I've not worked with those guys before, but it's kind of like sort of like an envelope filter thing. That's coming from Canada, and that should be here in the next couple of days. So that's going to be really fun. That's an effect I'm kind of trying to integrate a little bit more into my rig, because I've always just been more of a just drive pedal kind of guy. I've always collected drive pedals, and I've never really spent too much time with other effects, but I like things like warm filters, so I think I need to get involved on that. I'm having a new cab made by Noisy Hammer. Yes, you did mention that, and that's going to be really cool. That's going to be a really fun cab. His stuff is really great. I remember you said you had some speakers you were going to put in it, so that's going to be really, really interesting. Is that just going to be like a cab used for all your amps, or have you got a specific amp in mind for that thing? I've seen a lot of people using the Noisy Hammer stuff though. It does look really cool. And again, it's like I was saying earlier about the custom thing. It doesn't have to be this idea now that getting something custom made for you costs the same as a car. that's the really cool thing about companies like Maybury. You know, you can go and get a custom guitar like this, and it's going to come in at an equivalent price of an off-the-shelf guitar, but the difference is it's been spec'd to what you want. I think we're entering a really interesting age for small builders and up-and-coming builders and companies who are basically making things to spec, because the fact you can get a guitar like this for, I mean, I don't know what these would retail for, but I'm gonna guess around the kind of 1,800 to $2,000 mark. Jason would be best placed to answer that because he is in the chat. I'm guessing that it would come in around about that price, obviously spec dependent and wood dependent and whatnot. But then if you're in the market for a really good Strat and you're gonna spend money, this is still gonna come in cheaper than a Fender USA model, but yet you're literally having the neck profile you want and the frets you want and the pickups you want. It's almost like a no-brainer these days, I think, to actually consider using a small builder, which I think is fascinating, because a lot of the boutique companies are kind of seen as, you know, a boutique company is going to charge you $5-6 for a guitar, and some do. Some will charge you big bucks, but there are companies out there who can make you amazing products for really not much money at all, which is, I find really fascinating, actually, because yeah, we are entering a really cool new era for that. I think that's one of the things that Mike and Lewis really show off with the guys they have at the British Boutique Guitar Festival. Like, there's been a few brands there that we've shot videos with that do make very expensive products, but a lot of the brands there are surprisingly affordable, considering that their work is bespoke, which is fascinating. You know, you can say, oh yeah, you can build me this kind of guitar and it's going to cost me $2,000, or how much is the equivalent of that? $2,500. So it still comes in cheaper. It's crazy. Ash and Walnut with a 4-ohm 70 Celestion to use the Vox MX50. That's going to be so cool. It's going to be loud as well, because I'm guessing those 70 Celestions are very sort of efficient speakers, so they probably have quite a nice efficiency rating. So you'll really get the full weight of the MX50 behind that thing. They start from around 1,400. So I mean, yeah, how can you argue with that price? Something like this for £1,400. What can you actually get if you think about guitars you can get for £1,400? There's a lot of brands in that range that just have off-the-shelf models. Even, and again, not that there's anything wrong with guitars made overseas, because anyone who watches my videos knows I'm a big fan, especially of guitars that are made overseas. I have a lot of Japanese guitars in my collection, and Chinese guitars and Indonesian guitars. There's nothing wrong with them, but that's kind of what you get in that price range these days. You get something around £1,400 that could still be made in Indonesia. There's plenty of companies that are still making stuff in Japan at that price, like Ibanez, for instance. Or you could go to the guy down the road and get him to build you one by hand, and Jason especially does this, and I know a few other builders do, make you part of the process. So you kind of pick the woods with them and pick the colours with them and kind of be part of that build process. You don't get that with a big company, and you certainly don't get that with a big company for £1,400 and up. I mean, you'd probably have to go in pretty hard on the spec to get this up to $2,000. You know, if you went with top of the line pickups and the craziest exotic woods, you'd probably still find it hard to get this to be more expensive than a Fender custom shop. And like I keep saying, it's still built for you. So I think that's such a cool thing. But yeah, that's a no-brainer of a price, really, isn't it? And they do play effortlessly as well. I mean, this guitar is a guitar that Jason built for just general stock, I suppose. But it really is close to all the neck profiles I would normally go for anyway. It's slightly thicker, it's not too thin. I don't like guitars that are too thin. There's a nice fatness to this. It's got a nice kind of wide shoulder at the top, so it kind of feels very kind of vintagey Strat, but with a 10-inch radius, as Jason said. That takes me a while to get used to sometimes, because I'm more of a 7 1/4 guy, which most people hate, but I've always liked the feel of a 7 1/4 inch radius. But the fact that it's got that slightly chunkier neck is a nice compromise in that, because you've got the modern kind of playability of the super flat radius, or not super flat, but flatter than vintage, but then the chunkiness of the neck kind of fills the hand nice and makes you feel like you're playing something really nice and worn in. The in-between positions are nice and quacky as well. That's a really fun sound. Yeah, I'm liking all the tones I'm getting from this thing. Really into that. There's going to be a full-length video on this as well at some point, like I said. I'm going to sit down and get all the cameras on this thing and really kind of talk about the spec in more detail and kind of give you a proper overview of all the tones and everything this thing can do, because it's a very versatile guitar. Someone is trying to call me. I don't know who that is. Someone's trying to ring me on Instagram and I'm not sure who it is. It's not telling me, but I will. If you're watching and you're trying to ring me, I'll return your call very shortly, but I don't actually know who that is trying to ring me. Sorry, I'll get in touch though. But yeah, really fun. I'm looking forward to digging into this thing a lot. So, what else have we got going on in the chat? Anyone else got anything cool that they're looking at the moment? Anyone looking at any interesting guitars or pedals or amps? What have you guys got going on? Or anything you're looking forward to the launch of? For me, the big one is definitely the Duke of Tone. That, since last week, I've literally been thinking about that pedal and just thinking, I need to get hold of that soon. That needs to find its way to my collection very soon. I really want that to get released. No release date yet though, which is a shame. There was something else as well that I was going to mention. Oh yes, last week I was talking about these things, the recoil pedals from Keystone. You guys may or may not have seen by now, but I launched the videos for these on Friday. So I briefly talked about these on the live stream last week. These are from my buddy at Keystone in the south of France. These are really great. I kind of refer to them as like utility pedals, because for me these are the sort of thing that would kind of become an essential thing to have on my pedal board because of what they do. So the black one, if you're playing a single coil guitar like this and you're ever on a gig that you need a humbucker and you don't have a humbucker guitar, this will use some kind of magic technology. I don't know how it works, but it will turn your single coil sound into a humbucker, and it's very convincing. From the sound of it and the feel and the kind of touch sort of sensitivity, it sounds like a humbucker. It kind of gives you that, the fatness, the extra kind of harmonics. What it doesn't do, because it's not a humbucker, is it doesn't reduce single coil noise. So it does mean you can play fat overdriven sounds on a single coil guitar, but you will still get the hum, because the hum is actually cancelled by the fact that it has the extra windings and the twin kind of pickup system in there. Obviously I'm not a pickup builder, I don't know exactly how they work, but this can't replicate that side of it, but it can replicate the tone, and it does it very well. The other one, the white one, does the opposite. So if you're playing a humbucker guitar, this will turn your humbucker guitar into a single coil, kind of like a coil split would, but obviously not all guitars have coil splits. So if you're just taking a humbucker with you, you can take this and get some single coil sounds. So I put a video up of the spec of both of these and a couple of short A/B videos, and yeah, they sound great. They're also 3D printed, so the pedal casings are 3D printed with all locally sourced materials to where the company are based in France. They're looking to use parts that are basically all kind of surplus parts from local areas, so they're not trying to put any air miles on the parts, and you know, obviously everything kind of goes back into let's keep these as sustainably kind of tight as we can without, you know, without needing to order too much stuff from outside. So yeah, really impressed with these. If you're someone who does kind of switch between pickup tones a lot, like I am, these are definitely something that is just so cool. They're 99 euros each, which is, again, for that kind of tonal freedom, I think is essential. This is going to find a way onto my pedal board. I'm still using a really small board at the moment. I'm going to build a slightly bigger one in the next few weeks, and this is going to be on there because I do gig with single coils and I do need a humbucker for like 1 or 2 songs. So that is going to save me so much at gigs because I'm not going to have to carry a guitar with me just for 2 songs. I can literally just take this and that will do the magic for me. So yeah, check those out as well. Those are really cool. And I also just posted a demo of the Teisco Overdrive as well. We talked about the Teisco pedals maybe like 2 months ago on the stream. And the Overdrive one, the yellow one, that's got its own video up on the channel now as well. So if you haven't checked that out, that's also live. There's the big question there from Peter. Did Henning wreck any guitars this time? So, no is the immediate answer. He didn't wreck anything while I was there that I know of. I have it on good authority from Lewis from LT Custom Guitars that Henning did give one of Lewis's guitars a good going over to see if it was built well. Unfortunately for Henning, it was built very well, so he didn't break anything. He broke 2 last time, so I think this time he gave the guitars a week off. He didn't break anything that I know of, and I don't think he tried to break anything other than Lewis's guitar. So yeah, I think all the guitars made it home safe and sound this week. There wasn't actually anything that I remember that had a trem, and obviously that's Henning's big nemesis, is the tremolo system, because obviously he broke that whammy bar on the live stream last time. But yeah, this time he was quite well behaved. So yeah, no major casualties to report there, Peter. Although, I do have to say I wasn't in a room with him the whole time, so I can't vouch for what he did when when he wasn't under supervision. But yeah, to my knowledge, everything got home safe and sound, which is good. At least I hope so. But he does have Gear Street coming up though, so there's always time to break more stuff. I'm sure that plenty of guitars will get smashed at Gear Street. The more I play these Vanson pickups, I'm actually kind of getting into them now. There's actually a really nice low-end thump to that. Very unlike a usual Strat bridge pickup, which again, that's what I'm interested in there, is because it sounds Strat-ish but not fully Strat. To my ears, it's kind of got a bit of a telly bridge pickup vibe. You could probably get a bit more juice out of these pickups as well by setting them a bit higher. I actually lowered the pickups quite a bit just because, again, that's how I like to hear pickups. I don't like pickups being too close to the strings. I like a little bit of air between the pickups and the string. So that actually kind of reduces the output slightly because there's a bit more distance between the magnet and the string. to my ears, that just kind of sounds that little bit softer and a little bit kind of sweeter. But yeah, if you want a bit more juice out of these, you could just crank the pickups up a bit more as well. But that's, I mean, not using a ton of gain there. The Timmy is on like half gain, which is like this. Just kind of a push, and then I've got the King of Tone on like a clean boost. But then both on. Really nice fat sound there. Yeah, handles gain nice as well. Yeah, you're right, Cosmic. It's very round for a Strat style bridge pickup. I do have the tone roll back slightly there just to take a bit of the edge off, but on the whole, though, yeah, that is. It's not as ice picky as a regular Strat bridge. Even with the lower gain crunch sounds, it's still got a bit of that. It's kind of why it gives me a bit of a telly vibe, I think. And they're very responsive too, so if you kind of play softer, and then you dig in, and a lot of sustain. Obviously, excuse the noise because I'm literally sat. My PC tower is less than 2 foot away from the bridge pickup, so there's a little bit of noise there. I love that position 2 sound. Very kind of like with a bit of gain into that. It's kind of 70s Clapton. It's got that nice kind of almost tweed amp bite. Kind of Stevie Ray as well, it does that thing. Yeah, that's going to be a really fun guitar to get to know. So yeah, a lot of fun. But yeah, I agree, definitely round in the bridge. The pickups in this, that's going to be a work in progress. I'm kind of growing to like them though. My initial thoughts were they weren't quite what I loved. I liked them, but I didn't love them. But the more I play them, the more I'm kind of, yeah, leaning into them. So maybe they'll stay. Yeah, you are right though. Definitely round. I think that's what I'm liking, the fact that it's not typically Stratty. So if I get an actual Strat, that bridge pickup is going to be way sharper. See, that's much kind of spikier and hotter sounding. On this guitar, it's very, very punchy. This pickup, or these pickups as a set, are actually wound to be very 60s sounding. I had a bass plate fitted on the bridge one just to give it a bit of a low end kick, but it doesn't have a tone control. So it is just on all the time in that sense. But they are definitely sharper sounding than the Vansons. Very interesting. Yeah, I kind of was expecting more of that, but the fact that it didn't give me all of that is actually kind of what I'm quite liking about those pickups now. So yeah, who knows where that one's going to go? Who knows? But yeah, that's the guitar you're going to be seeing a lot more on the channel from now on. The weight is actually, I kind of wish you guys could feel how light that is as well. I mean, this is pretty weighty. This is a very typical old 80s Japanese Strat. It's got a bit of heft to it. This is probably 30% lighter, I would say. I mean, obviously the body is slightly smaller in the sense of the cutaways aren't as extreme as the Strat, but this is a thick body. It's a very chunky body guitar. The cutaways are a little bit more subtle than a Strat, but it's super, super light. I'd probably say it's like 70% of the weight of the actual Strat style, which again, like I said, for gigs is going to be really nice. It's going to be nice to actually play, you know, a 2-hour gig without a bad back. Pickups are very percussive on the clean sound. They've got a real snap to them. And that's on the neck and middle together. Obviously, the closer we go to the bridge, so like position 2. I play a lot of funky stuff in the band I play with, so obviously that's why I always use that as kind of a test when it comes to how snappy a pickup is. That neck pickup definitely doesn't sound stratty though. It kind of sounds like I said about the bridge pickup, it's more of like a telly sound with a middle pickup, which is again really interesting. I like things that are classic leaning but with a bit of a twist. I've got a Strat and a non-Strat. I quite like that the non-Strat has a different sound. By non-Strat, I'm guessing you mean like it looks and kind of is a Strat, but isn't a Strat in that it's not an official Fender. I'm guessing that's what you mean. I mean, by that standard, technically this isn't actually a Strat. This is actually a Tokai. So it's not officially a Strat, but it's, you know, you look at that thing, you hear it, you play it, it's a Strat. But I know what you mean though. It's not officially a Strat. It doesn't say Strat on the headstock. It says something else. But sometimes the different sound is quite nice, I think, because it's got elements of what you expect it to have. Like if you pick up a 3 single coil guitar, you kind of think, yeah, that's probably going to sound like a Strat. But it's got its own thing. And for me, that's something I quite like to look for. I like guitars that are, they give me the classic thing, but aren't exactly the same. Oh, the Variax. Wow, the Line 6 Variax. Those are really cool, though. I always find it interesting when I see people still using them, because I haven't seen one for a long time. I actually almost bought one the other day, purely just because I didn't own one first time around. Someone on Facebook was selling one of the, is it the Variax 300? And it was like £150. And I was literally, I went back to it 2 or 3 times and thought, do I need it? Do I want it? You know, what am I feeling here? I was close to pulling the trigger on it, but I didn't in the end. But yeah, I always didn't really get on with the fact that they didn't have any pickups, because obviously it's all done via the kind of onboard software. But at the same time, that's kind of what fascinated me, was that, okay, it's something slightly different. The ones I thought were really cool is when they did that second run of Variax guitars, which were basically just regular guitars that had regular pickups, and you could use them with their magnetic pickups, but then you could plug in the Variax and tap into the Variax kind of tone bank. That I thought was really cool. They were slightly different, and I think they were way more expensive, but that was, again, cool concept. The Variax acoustics were also really cool. I played one of those. Someone I know had one. On its own, it was a great acoustic, but then when you plug it in, you can kind of tap into all the different acoustic sounds, and you can make it sound like a 12 string and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, those are really fun too. There's no point in having more than one guitar if the other guitars don't have a different sound. That, Peter, is exactly how we justify buying multiple guitars. Why do you need more than one Strat? Because they all sound different. And that's the good thing. Every guitar does sound slightly different. So as guitar players, we always have an excuse to buy more guitars, because they all sound different. So that is actually an excuse. If no one's used that excuse yet when it comes to buying guitars, you need to, because it's true. You could buy 10 Strats and they'd all sound different. So why not own 10 Strats? There's always an argument for it, I think. Mine's a standard, so a Pacifica with a Dalek in it. That's funny. They do kind of look a bit like Pacificas, don't they? They had the same kind of... It's not offset as such, but I know what you mean. It's kind of... The horn shape was very Pacifica-esque. Yamaha makes some really cool stuff. The Pacificas really... Those have come a long way. I shot a video last year at 42 Gear Street with Andy the Guitar Geek. The video's on his channel, and we compared different budget brand guitars that were there. And the two we shot out was the new Yamaha Pacifica, which I think was called the 112, I think was the model number. It's like the basic one that costs like £250. And we compared it against an Ibanez AZ Essentials guitar, which is, again, like £300. It's kind of Ibanez's entry-level AZ range. Great guitars. The Pacifica was fantastic. The only criticism was it felt very new, and Ibanez had kind of played theirs in a little bit. But other than that, though, I mean, for the price, they're fantastic. It had like humbucker, 2 singles, pretty good trem. I think it was like a Wilkinson trem. It had a coil split on there, a 5-way switch. I mean, for the money, it's insanely good value. Again, that's one of those things you can get something now for so cheap that can be really good. And yeah, you are right there. Yamaha do own Line 6, so they're probably made, very likely made in the same factory, probably with the same wood supplies, just with a few little tweaks. And as you said, with a Dalek in it, probably near a 300 series. Yeah, I mean, I think the 300 series new were, casting my mind back now, I'm sure they were like £400-ish when they were new. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they were around that price range. And then obviously the 300 series, yeah, that's the 300 series. And then the Pacificas were kind of like 200 and something. And then you can go up in the Pacifica range as well. There was different kind of gradings of Pacifica and whatnot. But yeah, I know what you mean. They're sort of in that same ballpark, aren't they? Peter is out of here. See you soon, Peter. Have a good night. Catch you soon. setup key was the Dalek. Yeah, I mean, it could. It could. It would be actually quite an interesting experiment to see how the Variax sounds today in 2022 with all the technology we currently have available to us. Is it still a relevant technology? Because obviously at the time it was groundbreaking, because no one else had come out with a guitar that sounded like every guitar. You could literally make it sound like a Les Paul, a Strat, a Tele, whatever you want. But now we have so many options. We still don't have a guitar that is a modeling guitar per se, but we have things like the Keystone recoils, which kind of change your pickup sounds. You've got things like the Helix, which has the ability to make a guitar sound like a dreadnought, and a classical acoustic and a 12-string acoustic. So the modeling technology is out there, but I do think no one has actually put it into a guitar since the Variax is in that kind of level. The closest other thing is probably when Peavey did the auto-tune guitar, and that, understandably so, was a massive flop, because Peavey thought it was a good idea to put auto-tune into an electric guitar. That was never really gonna fit, was it? The Acoustasonic, yeah, the Acoustasonic kind of does that. The Acoustasonic, I think, is slightly more limited in terms of the models it has. Like, I know, for instance, the electric guitar pickups are very specific things, whereas I guess the Variax could be anything you want it to be. As long as it was on the dial, you could pretty much use it. I think the Acoustasonic kind of comes with, here's like 3 different electric sounds and 5 different acoustic sounds. Obviously, that's not the exact number. I'm pulling a number out of the air there. I also have a 611 VFM, and the shape's near identical. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. And yeah, the electric setup sound was really cool. I rebodied a Variax a couple of years ago. It was a nightmare. Did you do that into like one of your own body designs? I can imagine the electronics inside that thing are an absolute nightmare to deal with. I've never seen inside one, and I would imagine it's the sort of thing, if you had a Variax and there was a problem with it, especially these days, it would probably be cheaper to buy another one than it would to actually get the problem fixed. Because I suspect that the inside of that thing is very chaotic. Because obviously we're talking kind of early modeling technology there. We're talking, you know, when did the Variax come out? I remember seeing it in guitar magazines in the early 2000s. So probably like 2003, 2004, that thing was in all the magazines. So, yeah, I mean, it's nearly 20-year-old technology. So it can't be that fun to work with, can it? The headache of MIDI wizardry. Do you know what? To this day, aside from actually plugging in a MIDI keyboard into my interface, I still don't understand MIDI. I have a MIDI switcher that I've had here for 2 years, and I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to set it up to send and receive MIDI signals. Every time I do, it does it wrong. I just think MIDI's not for me. I think I'm way too analog to understand what MIDI is and what MIDI does. Because, yeah, it is wizardry. I think you have to be a certain type of person to figure it out. I actually have a video which, it's not published because it's an off-cut of another video, but the video that I actually just mentioned where me and Andy were shooting out the Ibanez and the Yamaha, there's an off-cut at the start of that video where we were sat down in the room and the cameras were already rolling, and we were trying to work out how to use a MIDI switcher that Henning had set up for the pedal board in the room, and all I wanted to do was have a clean sound with a bit of reverb, and it took 4 of us to work out how to actually make that happen. It's too much for me. I like to just be able to plug something in. I don't even like the hassle of dealing with effects loops. I literally like everything to go into the front of the amp, and then I know where I stand with all my sounds. I hate the whole idea of having to think about where I'm routing things. It just doesn't work for the way my brain thinks. I like linear signals. Chola offset. The routing went in every direction. 3 electronics boards in different chambers. I can imagine that was not a fun job. If you've got any pictures of that, though, I would love to see it, because that sounds like such a cool project, but at the same time, a project that would have pushed you to the edge. The Variax board sits under the bridge on mine. Is it meant to, or is that something you've moved? Because I don't really know much about the internals of the Variax. I've never actually taken one apart. I've only really spent time with the acoustic ones. I've played the one that had the regular magnetic pickups on. I played one of those, but I've never owned one. 2010 they released the Variax. I'm sure it was before that. I'm almost certain I remember photos in magazines from way before then, because there's one particular image that I actually remember. I can recall the image of the advertising campaign, and it was Joe Walsh from the Eagles playing one, and I would almost be certain it was pre-2010, but maybe I'm wrong. You could buy them new last year. This year I don't see any in stock here in Britain. Now I guess that's probably because of, you know, everything else going on in the world right now. It's quite hard for a lot of companies to get circuit boards and different components into the country, so I wouldn't be surprised if the priority for getting Variax boards has been kind of downscaled, because they're not really a premium kind of focused product for Line 6 anymore. They're probably not in a rush to put all their resources into getting more boards in, but I guess when things kind of settle down and normalize, then that stock should replenish itself. I'd probably go with a MIDI widget like the Roland GK2A or something like that. See, yeah, that's probably pretty cool. The Roland pickups, they look pretty good because you've got that kind of breakout pedal box as well. I just still feel like I can't get my brain around the whole MIDI thing, though. Like I said, I have MIDI pedals, and I just don't really know what I'm doing with it. I always feel like every time I try to do it, I'll set it up and I'll program it, and it just won't work. So yeah, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm too analog for the world of MIDI. 2002 was the original release. Now that's the kind of time frame I was thinking, see, because I started playing guitar around about 2001, and I was buying a lot of guitar magazines at that point, and that's when my memory kind of casts back to seeing that advert. So yeah, that makes sense. 300, 600, and 700 definitely came out in the mid-2000s. Yes. And then they went to... What was the name? Was it James Taylor? Something like that. There was like a different variation on the Variax then, and it became something else. Was it like the James Taylor or James Taylor Variax? And that's when they kind of branched out into putting real pickups in the guitar, and they kind of became like a bit more of a premium product, because those ones were quite a bit more expensive than the regular ones. So you could actually buy that, and it was just a really good solid guitar, and then it had the Variax stuff on top if you wanted to get a bit wacky as well, which was really cool. It came out in 2002 for the 500 Variax. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I can't believe it's been 20 years though. That's insane. I'm actually going to go on eBay and look for one. I'm pretty sure you can pick them up quite cheap these days as well. So I mean, that's not a bad starting price for a 600 series, or again a 300 series for 250. They've definitely not held their value over the years. That is one of the later ones where we actually had real pickups and the Variax technology in there. But yeah, these are the ones I always think of. No pickups. They're not the nicest things to look at visually, I don't think, because of the lack of pickup. I think even one pickup would make that a much more striking guitar, but what they did was really cool. But yeah, that's I mean, buy it now, price 250, but you can bid on it for 150. Pretty good. Those are the ones, the JT series. This is when they started turning into kind of serious guitars, and I mean, that headstock is very very Ibanez RG. Very Ibanez RG. It looks kind of like an RG, but the scratch plate is obviously slightly different. But yeah, that would just function as a really good quality guitar, but then you have the Variax technology inside of it. I don't remember the headstocks being that shape originally. I don't know whether this has been reshaped or what, but if that was the original headstock, that is very, very close to the line for the trademark people, because that pretty much is, that's pretty much an Ibanez headstock. I don't know how that would have gone down. My theory was that it would stop me buying more niche guitars. I bought a Gretsch this year. So I suspect by that comment your theory was very wrong. What I actually find things like modelers have done for me is they've had the exact opposite effect to your theory, which seemingly is what you're going through as well. Every time I try something on a modeler, pedals is a big one for me. Like, whenever I've tried different pedals on a modeler, I thought, I really like this. Now I need to get the real thing. Which, I kind of shouldn't think that, because the modeler these days, I mean, I've got a Helix and the tones are so spot on. I've compared it to a lot of stuff I own, like real pedals that I own. And I mean, the difference is negligible now. But I've still always gone and, you know, bought the thing that I've modeled because it's just, I don't know, does the real thing sound better? I don't know. Or are we just being guitar players here? But yeah, I kind of feel the same. That was my idea with the Helix. I thought if I buy a Helix, I won't need to start buying really obscure pedals that I'm not going to use all the time. And the Helix then led me to buying pedals that I don't use all the time. So, you know, well done, Line 6. You cost me a lot of money, and I love the Helix though. It's a great piece of kit. But yeah, it kind of just gives me the bug for different things. The Timmy was a big one. I tried the Timmy on the Helix, and then I couldn't find a real Timmy for a sensible price, so I ended up going for the MXR Timmy, and then I compared the two side by side, and it was scary how close the one on the Helix is. I did the same with my King of Tone. When I got my Analog Man King of Tone, first thing I did was plug it into the Helix, or plug the Helix in, because I'd spent so long hearing how the Helix King of Tone sounded while I was waiting for my one to be built, that I kind of had an idea in my head of what the pedal should already sound like. And as soon as I plugged the real one in, it was like, wow, okay, that's there, you know, they've got it. I think the real King of Tone has like a 5% difference on top. There's like a feel thing that the Helix doesn't have on that pedal. That was really the only thing I noticed. The Timmy was pretty much spot on. The way it kind of feels, it's quite a spongy pedal when you crank the gain. Kind of gets a bit compressed and almost verges on fuzz. The Helix nails that. King of Tone is very organic, and that's the one thing the Helix didn't nail, was there's like a 5% feel thing that, to be honest, people that hear the tone would never know the difference. It's a guitar player thing that we even feel the difference. If you were just listening to them side by side, you'd be hard pressed to tell which is which. But if you're playing it, you can kind of feel which is which. Which, again, stupid thing to say really, but we're guitar players. That's kind of what drives us to buy things, isn't it? Is how does it feel? It doesn't always have to sound the best as long as it feels right. I didn't go Helix because I was pouting at line 6 for the weak support with the Firehawk. Do you know the Firehawk was a weird one, because the Firehawk had massive potential as a product to be so good. It was really affordable. The tones were pretty good. And it almost just seemed like it never caught on. And then as soon as the Firehawk was kind of released, people just forgot about it straight away. I actually did a gig with someone who was using a Firehawk, and I literally hadn't seen one for years. And it sounded fantastic. It just sounded really, really good. And yeah, I don't know why Line 6 didn't push it more. I guess maybe because that was kind of the start of the Helix journey. Once Helix came out, I think for Line 6 that was like, right, okay, this is the flagship now. This is the minimum kind of level for what we're going to work with. even though they did kind of go back and revisit the pod idea with the Pod Go, the new one, and that's great as well. That sounds very close to Helix. But yeah, I think the Firehawk was quickly surpassed by the Helix. But yeah, the support thing is a shame because it was a great product, and I just don't think it was given the chance to become a great product. That was part of the problem. It came out and then it was, you know, not needed anymore. How were the Stones? Stones were awesome. It was a really good show. Stones are always great live. That was really, really good. They played for like the best part of 2.5 hours. I mean, a band like that, they've got hit after hit, but they played a couple of deep cuts as well. Considering they are all pushing 80, Mick Jagger is 78 now, Keith Richards is 78. The energy level is up, you know, it's insane. Jagger's running around the stage, he's running up and down the walkway. It's quite scary how much energy he's got for a man of his age. Yeah, I mean, they're the Stones. They're sloppy, they're, you know, rough on the edges, but that's kind of the charm of them. My favourite thing is the fact that Keith Richards pretty much goes on stage and just plays whatever he wants now as well. That's one of my favourite things about them, is Keith doesn't care. Doesn't matter what key it's in, doesn't matter what the rhythm is, he's just going to play, and he's just going to be the coolest guy. And sometimes he won't play. There was a couple of songs where he would just leave. He'd walk off the stage because there was nothing he needed to do, and then he'd come back 2 minutes into the song, play a couple of licks, and, you know. But that's just the joy of a Stone show, I think, is that kind of rough around the edges thing. But yeah, 60 years they've been going now. That was their 60th anniversary tour. I've seen them 3 times now, and yeah, just spectacular every time. They're just such a good band. I'll be sad when they throw the towel in, but I don't think it'll be long, unfortunately, because of their age. Because there's not many bands that go at that level beyond 80. I got the Firehawk to support the Variax. They talk to each other via an Ethernet cable. And you're right, they superseded it too quick and then turned their backs on it. Yeah, it was kind of, that's exactly what I meant. It was like, it's here, it's this new thing, the Firehawk, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, by the way, we've got the Helix now, and we're not talking about this thing anymore. Because I remember actually when the Helix came out, all the guitar stores had bought loads of the Firehawks, and they would just sell them off for really cheap, because they used to do the combo version of the Firehawk, which wasn't it something stupid like it was like a 400 watt, and it had like multiple speakers, so it was kind of like a full range thing, if I remember right. It didn't have just regular guitar speakers, it was like a full range kind of speaker arrangement because of the modelling thing. And those were like, they were going in shops for like £200 in the UK, which is just stupid really, considering how good they actually sounded. They've actually kept the Variax cable in the Helix though, so on the back of the Helix you can actually still plug the Variax in. So that's, they're still kind of pulling the Variax technology along with them, but yeah, it is definitely a shame the Firehawk just wasn't given the chance to run, basically. I still have my Pod HT500X. I'd love a Helix, but don't need it. Don't tell my wife I said that. The HT500 is really good. I actually had a HT300 as I kind of settled on the 300. I wanted a HT500, but when I was in the market to buy one, I couldn't find one anywhere because they were really popular at that time. This is like maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And I could not, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find a HT500 anywhere, in any stores. The ones that were going on the second-hand market were crazy money. I just couldn't seem to get my hands on one. So I kind of settled on the HT300 because I only really wanted it for studio use anyway. I didn't want it for gigging. So I kind of just settled on the 300. Loved it. Really great. And then the only reason I sold it was literally just to put money towards my Helix. When I kind of decided to pull the trigger and get I went for the Helix rack because I just didn't want it cluttering the floor in my studio, because again, I only really use it for home recording and sometimes YouTube demos as well. But I didn't need it on the floor basically, so I bought the rack version, and that's the only reason I got rid of my HT300, was purely just to put more money into the Helix. And a space saver as well, because I had the HT300 floorboard, so it was just permanently under my desk, so I was always kicking it all the time when I'm sat at the desk. it made more sense for me to have, my Helix now lives in a rack off camera there, and then I can just control it with the PC then, so that makes my life infinitely easier because it's not in the way. But yeah, you should get a Helix though. You should get one and compare the two. And your wife doesn't need to know. We won't tell her. None of the guys in this chat will tell your wife that you've bought a Helix. Your secret is safe with us. Different thing, I ran Guitar Rig as the wet against my 1-watt Blackstar Dry this afternoon. Magic. That sounds really cool. I've never integrated software with real gear before. There's a pedal actually that you can use for that. I've not tested it yet, but I will find it for you. Where is it? What have I done with it? It's on my shelf somewhere. So it's from, I can't find it. It's from the guys at Tysco. Oh, here it is. Right. So Tysco do this thing called the interface. Now, again, there's some magic USB and MIDI stuff going on with this that my brain doesn't quite compute. But basically, this is really good for pairing with software. So you can use it as an interface, as the name suggests, but you can, you know, just to record guitar into your PC and laptop. But you can also pair this with your laptop to essentially integrate sounds into an analog signal chain. So kind of like what you're doing. So you could run this as a regular pedaling chain, and then you have the USB connected to your laptop or your iPad or whatever, and you could have something like Guitar Rig or Amplitude running, and then this will switch that in and out of your chain. So again, kind of like what you're doing there, you're kind of bringing the digital stuff into a real analog signal chain. Pretty cool. It's a cool idea, and I think we're definitely going to see more of that now in the kind of coming years, because the software stuff is getting so good now. Wet Dry Wet sounds so good, it's ridiculous. Mono for life. That's it, mono for life. It's so easy to set up all these extravagant things in the studio, but yeah, when it comes to gigs, just one cable and that will do me. I always get other guitar players I kind of know wound up when they find out my my signal chain for live use, because I use the HX Stomp XL for gigs. That's my gigging pedal board, and I'm literally running it in mono because I can't be bothered to run it in stereo, basically, because it's just easier for me to run everything in mono and out of a DI box. Just easier. It means less cables to plug in and less things that can go wrong. I love playing with, I don't want to say stereo, but I love playing with dual mono live. I do that from time to time when I'm playing a big enough show. I will take 2 amps and run them in dual mono. I don't really bother setting up proper stereo because, again, I can't be bothered. But dual mono I've got a lot of time for because I like the blend between 2 different amps or 2 different speakers. But yeah, mono all the way. I'm with you 100% there. I thought you were going to tell us you kept the Helix for your fly gigs. No, that's what the HX Stomp XL is for. That's my kind of, my travel rig. I literally take that to every gig with me and just plug straight into the PA system. The Helix rack doesn't really leave the studio. I took it to a few gigs when I first got it just to gig test it. I just kind of took it in the rack, like a small rack kind of case, and used it in the same way, like direct to PA with a couple of pedals in front of it, purely for my own enjoyment, because I'd never taken it out of the studio before. Practically, it's not something I would take every gig, but I do know people who gig with Helixes, rack Helixes especially, regularly. But yeah, just for me, I didn't want the bulk of carrying the extra case. But I have used it for gigs though. Effects loop for PC. Yeah, it kind of is. It kind of is an effects loop for the PC. You're sort of bringing your PC into your guitar as a loop. The cool thing is you can actually have 2 different ins and outs on it as well. So there's an A and a B. Obviously, I haven't really tested it out properly yet, so I don't really know the exactness of what you can dial in, but it has gain A and B and level A and B. So I think you can kind of switch between 2 different sounds as well. So yeah, it's very useful if you're kind of going for that sort of hybrid setup between, you know, here's my pedal board and my real amp with, here is my laptop with Guitar Rig on. My live rig is my Rev G3 and my Fender Champion 100 and a guitar. Simple, light, and loud AF. I mean, yeah, that will do it. That will 100% pack a punch. That Rev G3 will give anything a kick. And the Champion 100 is a great platform to put that into. And a guitar. And what more do you need? If that's all you need to get through the gig, then that's it, you know. I'm quite interested in the idea of scaling back my rig even more these days, because I used to pretty much carry as much gear as I could physically fit in my car. Like, I would always take a 2x12 cabinet, a head, a combo, a big pedal board. You don't need it anymore. The technology is so good now that you can literally take a guitar and a Helix Stomp and there's your gig, you know, and you take up no space and you can carry everything into the venue in one trip, which these days I'm all for, because I don't like carrying stuff anymore. I used to carry a 4x12 everywhere with a 100-watt Marshall head in a flight case, and my Marshall head lives on the rack next to me now. I plug it in from time to time just for nostalgia, but I mean, I picked it up recently because I had to move it, and yeah, bad move. I forgot how heavy that thing was. In the flight case, I think it weighs something in the region of about 40 kilograms, which is not friendly on the back whatsoever. So yeah, I'm all about the light amps these days. That's why I'm really into the St. James now, the Black Star St. James, because it's so light. It weighs like 11 kilos. It's a 1x12 combo, 50 watts. Love it. I haven't gig tested it yet. I'm really keen to, just because of how light it is. Because I want to walk into the venue carrying it and not feel my back, like, you know, not feel like my back's about to break. So yeah, that's going to be exciting as well. He is a member of KISS. Yeah, he's actually, what a lot of people don't know is he's actually all 4 members of KISS. Many people don't know that, but there we go. We've kind of revealed that on this live stream. Anyone who's wondering who the man behind the Darth Vader mask is, he is all 4 members of KISS. At home, I tried to run everything at once, but that's too much to travel with. My back doesn't like it when I grab my 4x12. Neither does mine. I've got a Marshall 4x12, which had pretty heavy speakers in it anyway, whatever the stock ones were. And then in my infinite wisdom, I decided to put heavier speakers in there. I bought a set of proper Celestion Vintage 30s, not the import ones, but when they were actually the UK made ones. And that added like 5 kilos to the cabinet, which isn't a lot. But when the cabinet is already pretty heavy and you've got 3 flights of stairs to carry it up, then it becomes heavy. That point, I thought, okay, I think my 4x12 days are over. I think I need to retire the 4x12. At first I went back to a 2x12, and then a 1x12, and then a combo, and then straight to the PA. So literally my guitar rig has gotten smaller every year. There's a bouncer in Pontypridd who would carry 2 4x12s up and down 3 flights of stairs. That bouncer is an absolute animal, because that is insane. Would that be like on their own as well? The only time I've experienced someone carrying 2 cabinets on their own, they weren't heavy, but the illusion was there, was I was on a tour with a good friend of mine called Andy, and he was endorsed by Mark Bass. And Mark Bass do these 4x10 bass cabs, which weigh like 15 kilos. So he just walks into the venue with a 4x10 bass cab in each hand. Everyone looks at him as if he's, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. But really, the cabinets were insanely light. It looked cool though, because it looked like he was, you know, here he comes with his 2 cabs. But yeah, that was quite funny. But that, I've never seen anyone carry 2 4x12, so that's impressive. I might have to go to that place now just to see that. My first trip was to a chiropractor was after carrying an 8x10 Ampeg up a flight of stairs. That is the worst bass cab design in the world. They sound incredible. They are horrific to carry. I would never, I'm not a bass player, but I would never buy an 8x10 purely because I wouldn't want to pick it up. And I've seen many of my bass friends struggle so bad with 8x10s. So yeah, I'm going to give that a very wide berth. I've always, let's say, whenever I've been on gigs with players who use 8x10s, let's just say I've always strategically avoided that part of the load-in. Whenever I see the 8x10 getting ready to be carried, I always remember pretty quickly I have somewhere else I need to be. Even if it's just for 5 minutes, I have to be somewhere else while that cab is getting moved up those 3 flights of stairs. So if anyone watching this is ever on a gig with a bass player who uses an 8x10, make sure you get away quickly when it's time to load in and load out. He'd grab the handle and lift it onto his elbows at shoulder height. Many years ago, it was in the 70s. That's even worse because 4x12s are heavier in the 70s. The old cabs are heavier than the newer cabs. So that guy must be an absolute machine. I would love to see that. Because, yeah, I mean, anyone who's felt the weight of an orange 4x12 will know those are heavy. 70s orange 4x12s, even heavier. Same with the old Marshalls. They weigh a ton. A friend of mine's got an early 70s Marshall Plexi with a matching 412. It's disgusting. And he plays through that. He actually plays a 70s Gibson Les Paul. Yeah, a real 70s Gibson Les Paul, not chambered, into a 70s Marshall Plexi and a 70s Marshall 4x12. It's the most disgusting weight rig you can imagine. Everything is like 1,000 kilograms. It's just he used to be about 3 foot taller before he got that guitar. It sounds amazing, but yeah, don't pick it up. My 8x10s are in 2 separate boxes. I would never carry an 8x10. I'm hoping that they're mini 8x10s. Heaviest was a WEM 412 double thickness front baffle. I remember those amps. I've picked one of those up before. Anything WEM has got a bit of weight behind it. Not fun. I just don't enjoy lugging gear up and downstairs anymore. When I was 19, it was fine. I'm 33 now. Don't really want to be doing that. I would much rather get into my gig, not be in pain and sweating. I'd rather just get in and get the job done, you know, rather than punish myself with the weight. 2 4x10s. Yeah, that's the trick, isn't it? Make sure they're 4x10s. Does 2 4x10s really sound that different to an 8x10? That's a bass player stream debate, but good question to think about though. Orange cabs are evil, but orange cabs are evil. Sound great, but they're not designed to be carried by humans. They're not. I've never picked up an orange cab and I've thought, oh yeah, that's quite nice. They're horrendous things to pick up. A friend of mine has one of those. What do they call them? They have that cab design now where there's 2 speakers behind each other. So you got it's a 2x12, but it's the size of a 1x12. And the second speaker is behind the first speaker, which I don't really know how it works. It's some kind of magic Orange have come up with. But those things are very deceptive because on the surface it's like, oh, nice little 1x12. Pick it up and there's 2 speakers in that thing. Yeah, absolute horrible things. Sound fantastic, not fun to pick up. But yeah, there we go. There's another week past us by. So yeah, we've been on for about 2 hours now, so I'm going to let you guys get out of here, get some rest, chill out, enjoy the rest of your days. And yeah, we'll pick things up next Wednesday again. I should have some more cool stuff to share with you guys next Wednesday, so yeah, come back then. There's going to be a bunch more videos in between then anyway. Hopefully I'll be able to get some of the British Boutique Guitar Festival videos out by next week as well. Hopefully some of you guys will get to see some of those before we chat next time. But yeah, as always, thanks for hanging out for the last 2 hours. It's been fun. There'll be a full video on this thing coming up very soon as well. And yeah, as always, links down below in the description. Go click some of those and share and follow me on socials if you haven't already done so. And yeah, come say hello. I'm always around. Let's talk about guitars and all that good stuff. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your week, guys, and I will see you very soon. Take care.